This conference will now be recorded.
Hello all, welcome back for another session on performance testing using NeoLoad. Let's have a quick recap on what we had done in the previous session. In the previous session, we learned how to install NeoLoad, and we've also learned like how we can create a, a Neotis account, which is then used for licensing part. So there are two parts. One is downloading the NeoLoad latest version and then installing it. We have seen some standards that is being followed. In case if we already have an existing version installed on the system, it is best that we uninstall the existing version and then make a clean install with the latest version. On the second part, where we use the business email to create an account, and then once the account gets created, using the NeoLoad SaaS platform, we will try to activate the access token using the configuration button that we have looked at it extensively. Let's continue. Okay. Um, so installation of NeoLoad is done. Let's okay. So it's a some introduction about performance testing and what it is, right? So let's learn about this. Okay. So why performance testing? Performance testing is used to determine the performance of the application under load. This is a very important part, that is how the application is behaving, right? Or how the server health is under various load. Okay, that is all about the performance testing. Okay, so why do we need performance testing? So why is it why then almost the entire industry is kind of focusing on performance testing at this uh, there is a huge surge in that every business and every industry wants to benchmark their application uh, uh, to make it, so they are looking at various aspects: customer experience, performance, um, system health, s- so on. So why is it required one should do the performance testing? So let's look at it. One is loss of business. Okay, so what this means, loss of business? So let's say I'm trying to open one a popular e-commerce website. Let's call it amazon.com. Okay, I'm trying to opening it. Okay, but let's say even after 10 seconds or 20 seconds, I'm not getting uh, the expected page. What I would probably do is I will move on to another popular e-commerce site, right? Maybe a Flipkart, right? So here, uh, because of the readiness or availability, right? The business is losing the opportunity uh, of converting a customer, right? So this is more like a let's say like opening a shop and opening a physical shop and keeping it. It's like in online. It's like so if the website does not load and if I don't get the intended response, I'm going to go ahead with the different one, most likely to the a different competitor, right? So that's the loss of business or itself. In other words, it's an opportunity cost. So another aspect is faster the website, more the revenue. So here, it is not very simple. We can say like it's faster the website, but a lot of things are also involved. So let's say like we call it as a user experience. So if I'm opening something and if I get the response quickly within 3 seconds or 2 seconds, right? So the user experience is also elated there, and certainly I would like to come, or the customer would again visit the same website, and then create more revenue. And of course, any business has to have all these three aspects. That is, the business should be scalable, should be stable, and also robustness. Okay, a business which cannot scale beyond certain uh, point, okay, most likely will lose out a wonderful opportunity to become a leader, right? So this time and again we have seen this in the industry, right? um, where one such example is uh, this popular messaging application, that is WhatsApp, came up with some ambiguous privacy policies, right? Which made the users to move out of the WhatsApp platform, and they were like trying to opting it to a different platform, which is called Signal, right? Signal app application. There was a lot of downloads and a lot of users were migrating or at least trying the Signal app, okay, but they couldn't scale it well, and of course the application was crashing, the messages was not getting delivered on time, and there were a lot of performance related issues. They were unable to scale it, the system was not stable, and there was a lot of integrity problem. Semantically it is down. uh, Also, robustness was a big question, and because of that they couldn't uh, acquire more customers, and they couldn't onboard, and they couldn't cater to a lot of users that are inflowing towards their uh, application, and eventually they lost the race, right? So even the Signal is around, but I guess after WhatsApp has given some kind of clarity on those policies, I think again whoever was using WhatsApp, they just came back to it. Okay, so it's a wonderful opportunity. Signal could have capitalized, but they have lost the opportunity, right? So let's continue. So performance testing types. Okay, so whenever we say performance testing, okay, it is not one type of testing. Okay, there are multiple types. Okay, different different types of performance testing. So it is not like something from the functional perspective or from the automation perspective, where there is it has a very limited scope. It is not like that. Performance has uh, a variety of objective and purposes. Okay, so let's look at some of the testing types. Load test load test is the application under peak user load. Okay, load test is synonymous to performance test. If somebody is saying let's do a performance testing, what they are actually referring to this load test. Okay, so performance test usually is kind of referred to a load test. Okay, there are other types of testing as well, performance testing. Let's look at it. Stress test is applications breakpoint, or we can say like future expected load. So where we are stressing the application. So here the objective is different. With load test, it is just the peak user load, but with the stress test, we are stressing the application until it breaks. Soak test, also called as a endurance test, okay, which is used to determine the stability of the application. Okay, for this will usually these tests are run for over prolonged period of time. Okay, smoke test, usually it is used for validation or kind of warm up test. Okay, usually these tests would last anywhere between 10 to 30 minutes. Okay, not more than that. Usually this is done to validate the scripts that we have developed, the parameters or the other enhancements that we have applied on the scripts, validation of that, environment sanity, and other test data and other aspects about the execution. That is before we go for the actual load test or any other main test, smoke test is used. Okay, spike test. Spike test is, as you can see, there is a sudden jump in the user load. Okay, let's say like usually uh, let's take a different example, maybe a restaurant. Okay, uh, usually let's assume the restaurant will will have a customers of, let's say, let's assume like 100. So 100 customers would walk in maybe for a breakfast or a lunch. Okay, maybe due to some event, let's say there is a let's assume like there is some kind of a political rally or some kind of event is happening, and because of that a lot of people have come around uh, those area, and then there is a huge sudden jump in the customers who are visiting the restaurant. So let's say instead of 100, 400 people are walking in, right? So that is some kind of a spike in the users. Similarly, this can also happen with the applications as well, which we've just we're looking at it. That is the signal application example. So there's a sudden, a lot of people started downloading, and they wanted to access, you know, at least just want to see like how signal is, right? So we as a business, right, from the application standpoint, we have to be ready for all such kind of situations, such kind of circumstances, and we have to rightly handle it. Okay, the one more example what we can look at is this let's say there is a sports matches are going on. Okay, and um, I think this applications like Hotstar, uh, right? So let's say like something interesting is going on, and maybe there's a lot of users are coming in and then want to watch the match. Then again there is a sudden spike in the users. Okay. Uh, then capacity test. Okay, capacity is used to determine the application's breakpoint. Okay, so let's look at this workflow. Okay. So what is a workflow? Workflow is just a series of user actions. Okay, it's called as a workflow. Okay. So before we get into it, let me just show you.
I mean, series of user actions is we can say as a transaction, Navin.
I'll come to that.
Okay.
So let's say I'll I'll open this Wikipedia. Okay, just click on this. Okay, maybe I want to search something here. Okay, let's say testing, and click on this link, testing. Okay, and then I have got some page. Okay, the page is on the something like exam. Okay, so if you see what are the actions that I had performed as an end user, I have launched the Wikipedia, which is the main page. So launch is a user action. Okay, and then searching something here. Okay, um, so I have searched this. So this is another user action, and then clicking on this link. This is another user action. Okay, so let's look at it. So I have launched, and I searched fetching, and I clicked on the link. Okay, these are the three actions that I had performed in the Wikipedia page. So here user actions can be called as a transaction. Okay, from the performance perspective, the keyword that we are going to use from now on is the transaction. Okay, so you can see this transaction is the keyword that is used in performance testing. It is not the user actions. So what is a transaction? Transaction is the group of requests that belong to one user action. So what this means, right? So let's go here. So I'm just bringing up the Google Chrome developer tool. I'm going to the main page. Okay, as you can see, main page, and there is a lot of so there is a document. There are this WebP, style sheets, CSS, scripts, SVG, images, etc. calls. All of them together is making this entire web page. Okay, so these are the group of the requests. Okay, which falls under one user action. The user action is just launch. So similarly, this can be applied in any user actions. Okay, let's continue. So this is a popular part, which is a client server architecture. So let's learn about this. Okay. It's a simple architecture. So a client sends a request to the server. Okay, so client sends a request, and then a server responds to the client. So here it is the request, and then the response. So the entire performance testing is all about how this request and response gets formed, and how quickly the response, uh, right, the user is getting the response. Okay, that is all. So since we are discussing about a request and the response, okay, so let's also look at a components of a request. Okay, so request components. Okay, so there is a HTTP method. This is the first component. So HTTP method is get, post, delete, put, option, trace, and so on. Okay, so out of these, right, get will just take at least 99% of the entire calls, entire methods. Rest 1%, this post, delete, put will come. Okay, then there is a URL, application URL, also called as an endpoint URL. Okay, this is the second component. Okay, then there are headers. Okay, these headers are the attributes, right? There could be a lot of header attributes. Some of them are mandatory, most of them are not mandatory or it is not required. Okay, and body finally is the final component, which is the body. Body can be optional. Okay, if at all if we are constructing a request, okay, this request should have a HTTP method, application URL, and the mandatory headers. If all these three are present, then the request is complete, else the request is incomplete. Okay, if the request is incomplete, most likely we will get 400 bad requests. Means it may be syntactically correct, but it is semantically wrong. Okay, and body, of course, these are the parameters. These can be optional. This we will see. Um, so I'm just going back to this. Okay, this is the workflow that we had recorded. Okay, I'm just going to the first request. Okay, so I'm going to this advanced. I'm clicking on this advanced. Okay, and then I'm going to the recorded request. So what I'm seeing starts with get. So the method here is get, and then the application URL. Then there are some header attributes. So there is this accept language, encoding, all this. These are header attributes. There are no body here. So there are no parameter is getting passed. Usually, if a request has a body, most likely it is of post request. Okay, it's a post call. So this is the components of a request. Okay, um, so let's look at a components of a response. Okay, so the one of the important component is this response code. Okay, response code can also be called as a status code, which shows the status of that specific response. Okay, so it has a different series that we will see. Then there are some header attributes which will be a part of the response, and then body. Okay, so these are the response component. So let's look at it. So I'm just going to this recorded response. So it starts with 200. Okay, 200 means it's a success. So whatever the request that we have sent, it is a successful response. And these are the headers of response. Okay, and then this is the body. Let's continue. So response code, let's explore about response code. Okay, so it comes in a different series. Okay, so let's look at it. HTTP status code or response code are issued by the server in response to the client's request. So if I'm sending a request, I should be getting a response code along with the response. Okay, so look at the series. So 100 series, it means informational. 200 series, it means it's success. 300 series is a redirection. 400 means it's a client side error. That means something, some issue with the request that we are sending. 500 series means it's a server side error. That means some issue from the server side. So let's explore on all this response code. So I just clicked on this link. Okay, So let's look at it. So 100 means it's just like continue. There's a whole series of it. Okay, we will look at some of the frequently seen. One moment. Okay, fine. So most likely we will not see anything from the information responses. Okay, so 100 series is highly unlikely that we will see, and there is only four part. Uh, okay, so we'll move on to next one, which is 200. Okay, so this is most common. Okay, 200. Okay, this means it's a success. The request succeeded, and we have got the uh, a proper response. Okay, 201. 201 is it is like used for creating a record. Okay, like let's say we are sending something or creating some new record, or we are imputing or modifying an existing record. Usually we will see this 201. Okay, and most likely uh, uh, we have only these kinds of and these are like not very common. Okay, that we will see. So there is this 204. It is success, but there is no content as a part of the response. Okay, this we might see. Usually we will come across this when we are dealing with APIs. Okay, others are like highly uncommon. Okay, and then there are redirection. Okay, 300. So let's look at it. 300 multiple choices. This means uh, this specific response is going through some kind of bifurcation. Okay, that means it has more than one option. Okay, so that is why it goes into this 300 multiple choices. Again, this could be uh, not very common. 301, it's very common. uh, Most likely we will come across this. Okay, 301 moved permanently. This is kind of a redirection from one URL to another one. Okay, 302, uh, uh, 302, 303 is uncommon, and 304 is most likely we will see this. 304 and 307. 304 is uh, so it's used for caching purpose, as it says, right? So when usually when we get a response, at times the entire response gets loaded, or sometimes it is we get the response from the cached data. Okay, so there are 307 and 308. One is a temporary redirect. uh, it is kind of similar to 301. Okay, but that is like moved permanently, but this is a temporary redirection. So it's like more like kind of a call forwarding, right? That you might have come across, where so let's say if somebody is calling me, if I'm unavailable, I can create a call forward, right? So that is all about client error response. This is something that we have to really work upon. We will get a lot of 400 related errors. Okay, all of them are associated with client error response. Client error response means something issue with the request that we are sending. Okay, so let's look at it. So as I said, 400 bad request means some issue with the request. It's syntactically correct. Okay, but so as you can see there, it is a malformed request, right? That means like maybe some mandatory header is missed, or or it is expecting some kind of a compliant, let's say a date needs to be passed or something on that, but it is missing, and because of that we will get a response like 400 bat request. Usually we will have this issue when we are dealing with this SAML responses, or there is one more. Uh, I'm unable to recall it, but yes, most likely we will get into such kind of. And also, if we are working with this Pega applications, which is highly complex, okay, we more often we will see this bad request. 401, another highly common part, which is so this means it's 401 unauthorized. This means like some kind of access token is missing. Okay, that is all it mean, um, right? So you, the server or the application is not allowing to access because we are not providing or the dynamic values that is needs to be handled is not properly handled. Okay, that is why we get this 401. Okay, 402 not very common. 403 forbidden. Okay, so there is a distinct difference between 401 and 403. 401 is unauthorized. Unauthorized means due to some access token problem or some dynamic variable problem, the user is not being authorized to access the content. 403 forbidden means um, this can be seen on the user level, or we can, on other words, we can call it as grant level. Okay, so for example, let's take there are two types of user roles, that is, one is a manager, another one is an admin, right? Let's assume a manager has a uh, uh, certain access to, let's say, like a manager can see all the uh, all his or her subordinates attendance, their um, activity, their productivity, and so on, right? But a different user may not have, a simple employee may not have such access. But somehow, let's assume that this person has acquired a direct link to access this. Even if we try to access, probably the system would throw this 403 forbidden, that is, you are forbidden from this. But the content is very well is in place. Only thing is, because of the access grant problem, 403 error. So this is different from 401. Okay, 404, highly common. Okay, which means this, whatever the content that we are trying to access is simply not found. Okay, that's the issue. Others are so this 405, uh, usually this can be seen in the interfaces or APIs, XHR calls, uh, right? Uh, so you can see this, right? The request method is known by the server, but it is not supported with the target resources. Okay, 406 not acceptable. The server uh, is not in a position to accept this. Okay, again, this is not very common. 407, proxy authentication. So some application requires some kind of proxy, or to be in a certain network. Okay, if that is not there, then usually even this is not authorized, the link will not be authorized. Okay, so even this has to be in place. 408, so every request will have certain a stipulated amount of time. So if there is no, so if there is no response, okay, then most likely we'll get this request timeout. Okay, others are too uncommon. 413, payload too large. This we will find it most likely in so let's say, like we are sending a request, but maybe the cookie is too large. Okay, or or the data that we are sending, maybe we are uploading some file, something on that. I mean, uploading means not a direct file, but the file gets converted and it is changed uh, in a kind of a encoded format, okay, which becomes too large, okay, and maybe that time we will get this problem. And even with this 414 also, uh, URI too long. Uh, Maybe there are a lot of parameters that is coming along with the URI. Okay. And then there is a 415 unsupported media type. So again, these are like not very common. Okay. 422 unprocessable entity. So this we will see it sometimes. Again, you can see this, right? This is a semantic problem. Uh, there is 429, which is 429 too many requests. That means like there. I mean, the application will have certain limitations. Like so, a specific user can only send certain amount of requests. So it is about that. Okay, so this we might see it, can be common, and the rest all is not very common. Let's look at some of the server uh, side errors. Okay, so 500 internal server error. So this means the server somehow it does not understand, or it does not know how to handle that, how to handle the situation. So for example, so this happens when a server itself is trying to communicate within itself. Okay, there are so if we say, if we take any infra, that will have different entities, right, that is making up the uh, entire application. Okay, due to some reason, maybe the communication that is happening between the entities, or um, the request that we have sent, somehow there it has encountered some issue, and so it does not know how to, maybe any exceptions, the information that is getting passed, we might get this issue, and this is kind of most common. 502 bad gateway. Okay, so this is also a kind of common uh, issue. 503 service unavailable, means the server is not there, or it has already got a lot of requests. Okay, and it does not, it cannot um, respond to the user requests, can no longer respond. So all these are 504 gateway timeout. So uh, so can see this, right? The server is acting as a gateway and cannot respond. So all this 500 series associated with the server, so one or the other way, it cannot provide the response uh, to the user who's sending the request. Okay, and others are not very common. Okay, so let's look at it, like what all these different. So let's look at uh, some kind of examples. Okay, so I'm just hitting this google.com. Okay, and this is the first ever request that I'm seeing. Okay, as you can see here. So uh, the status code is 200. Okay, so if I go to this response, or it's supposed to be here, response headers. Okay, the status code is 200, which means it's a success, and you can see this, there's a uh, green encoded, sorry, green icon. I'm going to time. searching this fb.com. Okay, so as you can see here, the first ever request. So what happened? So the request URL was fb.com. Okay, this got redirected. Okay, this got redirected to facebook.com. Here the status is 301. 301 is moved permanently. Okay, so it has redirected from fb to facebook.com. So that's the meaning here. Okay, so let's open this one. Okay, uh, so let's say I want to search something randomly, and I'm searching this. See this, right? What happened? So this is the link. Okay, pestro.octopus.com, and then this is the path that I'm providing. So what this says is 404 not found. That means there is no uh, such location that is available in this application. Okay, because of that I'm getting this 404. That means there is no such information available. So it is not found and it is in red. So a successful message will be in green. The one that gets redirected will be in amber, and the failures are in red. So let's say I want to so I'm just see purposely I'm going to do something here. Okay, so ideally we have to provide all this information. Okay, and then click on save account. Okay, let's say like I'm not providing anything here, and then simply I'm doing save. I'm still getting 200 or okay. So what happened, uh, because I gave some uh, special characters and something, this is the server is did not expect, right? So as you can see, this unhandled exception. Usually since this is a simple application, okay, it does not have right kind of exception handling in place. Because of that issue, it got this internal server error. Okay, the internal server error happened because it does not know how to handle the situation. Okay, it's a clear exception. Okay, you can see this, right? The description, what it says, the server encountered an unexpected condition that prevented it from fulfilling the request. So this is how the 500, usually we won't be able to uh, replicate this, like it is not really prevalent with industry leading applications. Okay, we won't usually see such kind of issues, but since it's a simple application and somehow I stumbled upon on this, and so I was able to show you. So that's the different um, response code. Okay, and yes. So any questions? I will also share this link. I would request you to go through this different status code or response status codes. It is very useful, and as a performance tester, it is imperative that we also learn about all this. Okay. Right.